Welcome back, everyone, to the Immutable Mindset and the podcast for a Simulcast today. Today's guest is Charles Stanton, the Chief Marketing Officer at Forj, a company at the bleeding edge of NFT technology, championing the transition of audiences into the Web3 space. Starting from a strong marketing background in the UK, Charles led digital campaigns for some of the biggest brands, including KPMG, the National Lottery, BUPA, and British Gas. His innovative efforts in the realm of social media marketing have been recognized with multiple awards, highlighting his ability to connect audiences with brands in new and powerful ways. But his career took a fascinating turn when he dove headfirst into the world of Web3 and the metaverse. Now at Forj, Charles applies his marketing acumen to forge new pathways for creators and fans in the world of digital collectibles, gaming, music, and entertainment. He believes in co-creation and the power of brands as gateways into the metaverse, and most importantly, in the democratization of creativity. Whether it's partnering with Polygon, Crust, or Anchor, or working on interactive experiences like the Monkeying Around project with the Bored Ape IP, Charles and his team are shaping the future of how we interact with brands, art, and each other in the metaverse. Today, we'll dive deep into Charles' journey, his role at Forj, the concepts of the metaverse, and the future of Web3. Prepare to have those horizons expanded and for your understanding of the digital realm deepened. So without further ado, let's give a warm, immutable mindset welcome to the man who's truly forging a path into the metaverse, Mr. Charles Chaz Stanton.
Wow. Guys, I've never in all my life had such a great intro. Thank you so much. I'm almost certainly never going to live up to those expectations, but yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so jacked to be here. It's fantastic.
Thanks for coming on board, man. We know it's late on a Friday afternoon over in the UK, and we're probably the last thing you want to be doing today, but thank you. So let's get to it. You're in good hands here with Kevin and Adam.
Agreed, and absolutely. Always love to edify those that are truly building and are truly adopting, not the next billion, but truly on the adoption path for what we're doing here. So really appreciate it, and it's awesome to have you here, Chaz. I'm going to go with Chaz. I like Chaz. So yeah, me too. Let's like most podcasts, of course, we have our audience that wants to know a little bit more about you. So can we start with just sharing a bit about your background and your career journey leading up to Forj, what was formerly Bondly?
Yes, of course. So yeah, I've got background, obviously based in the UK, in case my accent didn't give that away, and I've got a background across doing marketing for a lot of big brands in the UK. So predominantly, my career's been centered around social media. So, from back in the day when Twitter was just an annoyance for brands, they didn't understand it, didn't want to get into it, and ended up heading up social media for British Gas, which is part of, I think in America, there's Direct Energy, if you've heard of that one. So I was on the Centrica graduate scheme, and then moved into Bupa, which is a big healthcare company, doing head of social for their global operation. Got really fascinated by sort of digital tech and everything else. Moved into the National Lottery, so sort of huge opportunity to kind of to do these big, broad sort of digital marketing campaigns using social media. And back then, we worked directly with Facebook on launching a Facebook Live show. So it's something that hadn't ever been done before. It was like just exploring kind of new ways to interact and build communities. So this is all kind of moving into sort of where I ended up. So obviously, we moved to KPMG, head of social media there. Another sort of fascinating, just incredible company to work for. But by then, I'd caught the Web3 bug, and actually, it didn't take very long to kind of just dive headfirst in. And I actually, much to my wife's annoyance, I quit my job at KPMG within a few months because I just absolutely loved the world of NFTs, and I was actually a follower of Bondly at the time. I was in their community, just really loved what the guys were doing. And I basically got headhunted and jumped straight in. I haven't looked back.
So, Chaz, I got to ask you this. The three of us are married men right here. We've all had incredibly interesting conversations with our wives when it comes to NFT. For example, when I went to go buy the Captain's Club NFT, if you're familiar, if you're aware, that's Miami.
Where is this going?
I'm like, hey, babe, I want to spend $18,000 on a strip club NFT. Oh. That was an interesting conversation. So let me ask you this question, Chaz. When you said KPMG, Big Four, right? Hey, babe, I'm thinking about leaving because I'm kind of into this NFT Web3 stuff. how did that conversation go? Please, let's talk about that for a moment.
It gets better, Adam. I was about 3 months away from having our second baby.
Oh, on top of that, let's layer that on.
Yeah, perfect timing.
So this was perfect timing. Exactly. It was. You know what? I have to be honest. I'm very lucky. She. I don't think she knows enough about Web3 to realize how stupid a decision it was.
Same. So, just enough to know just how much. That's the question. How much, right?
Exactly. So it's it was. I was lucky in that the opportunities were great, and I think I quickly proved that it was the right decision to make. It had helped that I made a bit of money. I invested a little bit early in Cardano, and anybody who knows the growth of Cardano between about 2020. So onwards, So it kind of meant, I was kind of like, yeah, exactly. I was
or
in a good
trampoline,
position.
depending how you look at your circus paraphernalia. Okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, more of a trapeze. But no, it was.
I don't know.
Yes, definitely.
Chaz, was there something?
A sword swallower? I mean, we could anyway.
But obviously, even you're talking about Cardano. You're talking about like the ICO times when things were going crazy. Was there, beyond the speculation and the hype of it all, was there anything that really caught you? You were talking about, you dove into this realm. What was it that caught your eye first? What was it that captivated you that made you see that there was something different with Web3? Was there any project in particular, any token? Was it Cardano in particular, or what was it?
And actually, more than just speculating, I have to say I really bought into Charles Hoskinson and the mission of Cardano. And I was really fortunate, actually, that Bonnley, people probably forget this because it's been such a long project, but we actually later on partnered with Cardano. It was a huge opportunity to interact with my hero and actually speak to the Cardano team. We're building the official NFT bridge between Cardano and Ethereum. So that's still ongoing. It's very much still a project that's kind of being built. But I love the mission, the idea of democratization, decentralization of finance, right? So, and Cardano's angle, if you will, is very much kind of trying to expand that into I say developing countries. I'm very careful about saying third world, but developing nations. And giving people access to financial products that otherwise wouldn't have access to it. And, that really, kind of resonated with me. And
I just want to jump in here because I'm teeing this up for Kevin. Kevin, quickly chat for a quick second about your experience, consensus, when it's kind of like all these things coming together about this decentralized global finance, the chat you were having with that gentleman about developing nations.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we know, right? I think, we always talk about the killer app of Web3 and the killer app of blockchain. That's the killer app of blockchain, right? The reality, at least for taking this very deeply. So I'm half Dominican. I have a lot of family in Dominican Republic. We've spent an insurmountable amount of money to give them money. It takes an insurmountable amount of money in fees, and right, we know this. And for a lot of these third world countries, a lot of that money goes into fees using Western Union and all these other ones. Mm-hmm. And then there's a time
SIM cards.
There's a 5-day time lag, and you don't know if the money's going to be there, and it's not instantaneous. And it's such a horrible experience for a human being that roams this earth. So to your point,
it's a tax on the family. I don't understand. It's honestly, it's a crime. It really is. So no, I have to say, it's 2023, guys. What's going on? Western Union, sort it out, man. Honestly,
let's get this shit together. So I want to bring it back to the heart of the conversation here, but I think it's important to talk about the rebranding process from Bonnley to Forj. What prompted that action?
Yeah, well, I mean, so Bonnley started out as Bonnley Finance, and so the name Bonnley, financial connotations. I mean, Bonnley was, if you guys remember back at that time, Bonnley was the kind of foundational NFT project. I mean, we were the first project to do utility in NFTs to a big scale, and the first NFT launchpad, the first celebrity partnership, and we also still very much working with Lewis Capaldi as well as sort of first major music artist to do an NFT, and really Forj was kind of the next evolution really in our journey. We as you know, Animoca Brands became a majority owner, so we're now officially a subsidiary of Animoca Brands, which has been just, I have to say, incredible.
I love Yacht
experience.
I love Yacht. Yeah.
We've got Yacht on next week.
Awesome.
On our our live stream show to talk about the Ape Accelerator, which of course we'll talk about in a bit, I'm sure. But yeah, being part of Animoca Brands, we realized that bonding finance was it was too restrictive, right? We wanted a brand that resonated with, I say Web 2 audiences, but really kind of resonated with the more lifestyle side of NFT technology. And of course, we're moving more into the metaverse, and looking at, kind of more community-led activations. Bonding finance, it felt too kind of DEX, it wasn't really kind of where we were going, really, I think. So it was a great opportunity to kind of, take it to another level, and with Animoca behind us as well, far more focused around the exciting kind of more community-based side of Web3, which is, like I say, metaverse, NFTs, experiences, all that lovely, fluffy stuff.
Yeah, it feels like that's like your guys' transition feels like almost everybody's transition. Like it goes from like blockchain is just a ledger, and then Ethereum, you're like, oh wait, it's a computer too, and you can do all these things. So right, we start with finance, we start as this ledger, and then we're like, oh wait, whoa. We can do what with blockchain? And then all of a sudden you can entertainment and media. And I've heard you talk about that recently. I heard you talk that, what you saw was that media was the landscape where Web3 would be this amazing app, this amazing, use case for people. Could you just not to take it, but just could you speak on that piece?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No. So for me, this is one of the things that really sort of attracted me to Web3 is the next level ability for brands to engage, right? And you think about, when people often, you guys will find this as well, you get those who kind of say, look, I don't understand why NFT is any different to, having what I currently have, which is an email address I can log into or whatever. And as I keep saying to people, right, that ability to truly be identified in a way that you want to be, obviously, by owning an asset, right? So I own a cool cat, right? So that's one of my PFPs. I own a cool cat. I am identifying as a member of the cool cat community. I want to be identified in that way. I can use my NFT for a number of different things. I can access a number of different communities who are open to incorporating cool cat holders. I'm using cool cat because the obvious one is Bored Apes, and obviously we are
cool
doing
cats
those.
Are cool.
Cats are pretty cool.
They're OG.
Cool
Cats is around before any of the apes. Cool Cats, and you can fact check me on this. So I'm pretty sure Cool Cats around before the punks and the apes.
Cool Cats have been around a long time. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And also an Animoca brands now. So another reason to love them so much. So the point is, that kind of that level of interaction between brands and fans. That's what Forj is all about. It's that kind of lovely, we call it this connective tissue between brands and fans that previously hasn't been explored at this level. And the idea of fans becoming part of that creative process, right? So actually co-creating with brands, and the opportunities there are just immense, right? So I talk about democratization of brand because more than just what Bored Apes have done. So I know, again, they've been the poster child, I suppose, for centralized IP. But if you think about how ordinary brands will be thinking about themselves in the future, they need to start opening up to communities. They need to start being open to co-creation, use of their brand assets and their brand IP, in the way that Nike's doing, I suppose, with
Oh,
yes. Let's pause. Let's pause there for a second. I've been a marketer much longer than I've been a recruiter or a podcaster. So marketing's always at my heart, and I truly believe in this Web 2.5 world. So many folks and brands were so quick to go to the Web 3, and they didn't stop at Web 2.5. So I want to pause for a second, and you said something that clicked the trigger in my head. And we're talking about brand affinity and brand loyalty. Compared to what you've seen on the Web 2 side in the history of your time in the workforce, in marketing and social media compared to now, why is there so much greater affinity in this Web 3 space?
Oh, yeah. Really great point, Adam. I actually joked with my team the other day, bearing in mind in Web 3, the focus is, when you think about marketing spend and where you kind of put your resource, it's in kind of community activation and often partnerships and the kind of things that your audience are going to be really aligned to. So we don't spend a huge amount. And I used to work, like I say, in the National Lottery. Our budgets were obscene. I spent millions of dollars sometimes.
It's still gambling, right? We're still talking to gamblers. There's a lot of gamblers in the NFT space, right?
yeah. So the kind of budgets we had access to at the time were just amazing. So my point was, I've seen greater engagement, greater reach, greater action off the back of messaging from organic piece of content that we've done than spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, in marketing, kind of in the traditional sense.
Or even engaging in the discourse when it's really a one-on-one conversation with your most loyal fans because they're owners of the IP. I think that's the difference. They own the brand.
Exactly that, and it's a sense of we're in it together, right? So as a brand, you think about traditional brand and audience relationship. It's I am marketing to you. Doesn't matter what you think is happening right here. I am trying to sell something to you,
right?
Not I'm trying to create value for all of us together, right? That you can share in. Like if you own a token, if you own an NFT asset that allows you to have, like for example, governance rights or even potentially shared benefits that so everyone wins ultimately from the growth of that brand, of that product or that ecosystem. That's really where the sweet spot is. It's people. You think about the next generation. I hate to sound like we're that old, but the next generation, Gen Z and that sort of age. They aren't thinking in terms of a normal consumer. They want to feel part of something. They're not going to settle for just being a consumer. They want to be a prosumer, right? They want to be actively involved in the consumption of that product.
Interesting dynamic that's funny that you're kind of talking about. It's reminding me. In the Web2 world, I used to go to like CES and I'd go to these conferences, right? And I'd see all these other people that also use Apple, right? But at no point would I ever walk in and we'd be like, oh, you use Apple, I use Apple, let's be best friends. Oh my God, right?
Let's go to a party. Let's see.
But let me tell you, but let me tell you, I go to Web3 or I'll go to blockchains, right? And then I'll be like, you use Solana? I use Solana? No, let's seriously be best friends. And then we'll sit there for 2 hours and we'll talk about everything Solana, and it'll go to our family, and like it spans so much. And so but it goes back to that ownership piece, right? And and us as people, right? We know when things are free, when things are easy, we don't capture it as well. We don't feel the value, right?
Game.
We don't, right? Exactly. But when you're an owner, I mean, shit. Think about fantasy football. It could be soccer or football, right?
Yeah.
No skin in the game.
Works both ways.
But all of a sudden, you're an owner. Now you're watching games you would never watch. You're watching people you would never watch, right? All these things are happening. So I just find it so interesting how we just changed the ownership dynamic and how our behaviors change in such a more communitized way. I find it amazing, and I didn't really have a point with that. I was just preaching.
Kevin, it's funny. You mentioned football, so I actually I follow American football. I've got a fantasy football group. But the funny thing is, right? I'll be the first to admit it.
Do you still call it football?
Well, so married with kids and everything, don't get a chance to follow it as much as I'd like to. Although I'm seeing a couple of the London games. But I'm sitting here because I do fantasy football. Suddenly, it gives me that kind of sense of like I say, I'm engaged, I'm interested. Suddenly, I'm getting a note. I'm like, oh my God, Dalvin Cook's leaving the Vikings. I'm like, this stuff.
There's been studies that show how much affinity fantasy sports has done for professional sports. I mean, it's a classic case study. So Kevin, let's take this into the metaverse.
That's how do brands bridge what we're talking about into the metaverse? Because that's what. Right. That's where we can be communitized. That's where we can show up however we want to show up. That's how communitized. Right. So how is Forj going to help bridge that gap between these metaverse platforms, between these brands? How are you guys working with them to do exactly what we're talking about and really, help people understand what ownership means and understand how Web3 is going to be included into the metaverse? And just curious.
So the metaverse, let's take it back a second. All the things we talked about, the metaverse is really where it all happens, right? And we talk about democratization of IP. We talk about these Web3 experiences. We talk about that sense of ownership and co-creation community. It all comes together in the metaverse. But when you think about, what do we mean by the metaverse, right? So I know I'm not going to get into all of that. I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole.
Well, I mean, I think it is important.
Actually,
how would you succinctly explain the metaverse?
What's your definition?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, obviously the Web3 metaverse is a space that is essentially can be altered, right, to the well, let's say the benefit, but to in the sense that everybody who's immersed in that is able to see and experience what you're experiencing. So if I go in there and chop a tree down, that tree remains chopped for everybody else. It's a changeable, malleable world, right? Virtual world. It doesn't have to be VR, right? That's not what it's all about. It's a space that is essentially a digital version of the real world. That's not to say it has to look like the real world. I mean, in the sense that you own things, you can interact. There's commerce. There's the ability to, as I say, to alter that landscape and to see that landscape altered permanently. There's permanence, right? So that's where land ownership is so important, because you actually own a piece of land and it is your property, and property rights can be replicated in the same way as in real life. But going back to where the metaverse is going, I see the metaverse as being like the internet is now. You will have, it's not going to be a case of like there will be one big metaverse to rule them all. There will be different, essentially, metaverse experiences that you jump into, just as you would jump into a different website. You input a URL or an address of some kind, you jump into that metaverse experience, and there'll be maybe some shared syntax of the kind of avatar you use or whatever it might be. But ultimately, you're jumping into different experiences, and those experiences can be immersive, could be personalized, whatever.
Curious,
it might be.
what does that look like in today's time? Right, just right now, what does that look like between Forj and brands, and the conversations you guys are having for the audience? What is it? Yeah, that's curious.
Yeah, so great question. So the reality is, what metaverse aims to be and aspires to be is still years away, right? We can all agree on that. Yeah. I think the reality is that for metaverse to be as I've described it, it's like landscape is always altering. The amount of processing power required for that to happen, in any degree of.
Oh yeah, just look at NVIDIA right now.
We're still in Roblox. We're still in Roblox animation mode.
Right, so it's like exactly. It's like Sandbox, for example. Obviously, the most popular metaverse platform. There's a reason why graphically they go with that kind of Roblox style. It needs to be in that way in order for it to be processed. Like literally, some computers required for this, they almost don't exist. Like to get to that level of graphics.
So, what's the deal with this land grab going on in the metaverse right now? Like, why does Hershey's spending millions of dollars to have a plot next to Snoop Dogg, right? Like is it just a land grab right now, or is there something we don't know about going down? Kind of like how I think the Fortune 500s were waiting for all these projects to A/B test and fail before they launch out into the metaverse and into Web3.
Yeah, so I can tell you right now. I sit in the office with the Sandbox guys in London.
So
and, they are. So I know. And they know, but to be honest with you, they are the brands out there they recognize that this is the place to. And going back to your original question there, Kevin, as well, this is the space to bring your brand to life. Okay, so again, as a marketer, imagine a situation where you've developed a brand, you've developed your brand values, and you want to communicate those brand values. In the real world, it's very hard to do in a way that you have complete control over. In the metaverse, imagine a situation where if you're Coca-Cola, you talk about Coca-Cola being all about joy. Well, why not actually make it about joy? Like in the metaverse, you can have this amazing world where you're floating around. There's bubbles, there's party poppers, there's whatever you want to do to convey the sense of joy. That ability to bring your brand to life in whole new ways that's really reflective of your values. I think that's really exciting for brands, and that's where they're kind of jumping in with both feet, because you might get that.
Just a side question, exciting. If I can just step in here real fast. So I know
that's your show.
I know you mentioned it's not necessarily AR VR, but I'm actually really curious of your thoughts of how has Apple Vision Pro changed? Is that
good question?
Has that inspired? Do you think is that the iPod iPhone moment for Web3? Is that what's going to start to make this all make more sense for people as they're going to be able to immerse themselves in it and make it make sense?
Yeah, and it's a really good point, Kevin, because I've been asked before, where do you see the first sort of real mass adoption for metaverse? And I said, for me, AR, not VR. Yep. That ability, imagine you're walking down the street. You talked about your example there, Kevin, of hey, you're in Solana, I'm in Solana. But what if you can walk down the street and I'm a cool cat? I'm literally just
spatial computing.
Think about that.
Yeah, no, why not? So I could just change my avatar just like that, and anybody else who's wearing some AR goggles, whatever it is, they could see me as I want to be seen, as I want to be perceived. So I did
Ready Player Me. I like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, 100%. But in the real world, so you can actually see their avatar in the real world, in the sense if they were there.
Give me some cool
but imagine a
heads up.
situation where your NFTs are following you, like you've got a Pokemon, but it's actually
Well, it depends. It depends if you have a dick butt following you or not. Like, do you really want to have a dick, like, or a goblin talent, right? Like,
That's right.
Some of them are.
Yeah,
that's true. That's
excuse me, sir. You have a dick butt coming out of your butt. And you're like, what? What the? Sorry, we digress here on the this is the podcast is my show. So we digress on the podcast, and let's elevate it back up with the Immutable Mindset, folks.
We are Meme 5.
Oh man, it's Friday. It's Friday, guys.
It's okay.
It's Friday.
It's
We're having fun.
Okay.
That's all about.
Keeping it lively here.
So, in terms of the unique opportunities and challenges that the metaverse is going to present for these brands and these marketers.
Yeah. So you mentioned before about what are brands asking for, what they say. We've had some really some of these brands, honestly, some of the biggest brands that you would never think would want to get into the metaverse. They're looking at it, right? And the reality is, the challenge is, how do I create something, bearing in mind all the roadblocks you have in brands? You think about the red tape. I don't know if either of you worked in big companies, but
Amazon.
my word, getting
American Express.
Right, Amex, perfect example. Like, how long do you think it's going to take for Amex to start getting into the metaverse?
Yes.
Right? It's
by the time they go through approvals and 30 different levels of senior management have to look at it and review it and question it and go through it, right? That's why these smaller brands move faster, agile, make mistakes, learn, adopt, pivot.
That's it. And that's what you have to do. You have to fail. Honestly, in the metaverse, you have to fail first. In fact, many times before you get to the point. I mean, look at what Gucci are doing. Not everything is going to land perfectly, but where are they now? Everyone's looking at Gucci and going, "Wow, why can't we be more like Gucci?"
Gucci.
They've had a number of third activations. Don't get me wrong, but no one cares about them in the long run. And the key is, like, brands need to realize that actually it's okay to fail. In Web3, failing is, if you don't fail, frankly, I'm suspicious of you. It's
you gotta break shit.
Wrong.
You gotta break shit.
Gotta break it. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a solid point. Honestly, I never thought. I literally never thought about that. If you've never launched anything and you come out of left field, like, you're scammy to me, especially in this space.
Like, you're not pushing it.
You're not. There's something off. And like, if you don't have a crypto Twitter account, like, something like, there are like certain ways in which you have to present yourself, almost to where it's like, really, you've been here? Do you know? Like, so yeah, it's really, you need to fail and not be scared. Please go ahead, Adam.
Proof of proof, right? Proof of proof.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like that.
One thing that I was also curious about in terms of how Forj is helping adoption come about, and bringing that into the metaverse. Curious about how Forj fosters that co-creation between fans and creators in the metaverse specifically.
Yeah, well, so monkeying around is a great example of that. Thank you
for doing our job with the transition. We appreciate it, Chaz. Just go with it. Probably, but you're gonna be the third host here. We're just gonna do 3 shows at once, and then we'll chop it up, and everyone can get their content. I love it. It's efficient. Work smarter, not harder. There we go, guys.
Oh my God, yeah. Monkeying around is a perfect example. So that was the first example of the use of Bored Apes in a metaverse experience, right? And that's something we worked with very closely with the sandbox on. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the game or even play it. It was incredible, like, really sort of expansive land. We had the swamp. We had, there's a whole adventure. You had to go and jump over crocodiles and collect, kill mooses, I think, to get some food. And there's loads of stuff going on. The point being that that experience was a great example of, like, okay, look, we've got apes as Forge, right? Let's put them in a game. Let's show people what it's like to actually, create your own game based on these characters. Like, Yuga were not affiliated with this at all. It was very much just us and our apes. And the community, they had the opportunity to be a big part of that, sort of helping to co-create the game. Obviously participating in the game, there was, the opportunity to win prizes, all the rest of it. And they won assets as well. So, if you sort of participated, you got, special helmets, all sorts of things. So it was a really sort of community-based experience, and that's how we wanted to develop it. There was no commercial purpose. You didn't pay anything for it. It was completely free. It was just, for us, it was just a chance to prove that the model works, right? That was ultimately, it was just one big proof of concept.
I'm just curious, and maybe you didn't, this is a left field question, because I think the big draw of this was that people got to use their IP, right? They got to use, intellectual property in a game that's theirs. Did you get to hear from any individual holders of Bored Ape, like any of the players? Did you get a sense of just like what the holders felt of being able to again co-create and be a part of this experience?
Oh yeah. We actually had quite a few of the Bored Apes themselves came and played, and we made a number of really, really great contacts from that experience. And actually, that's funnily enough, that's what led us to the position we're in now, which is that we're obviously a sort of core part of the ape community. The ApeCoin sort of AIP proposal recently got approved. None of this would have happened if we hadn't sort of kind of forged these relationships early on with the apes because of that game. So that proved that we were, committed to decentralized IP and I suppose the sentiment, the mission behind decentralization of IP, which is something that a lot of Bored Apes, in fact, most of them, frankly, are super, super passionate about, and rightly so. So that was our way of saying, us announcing that, look, we're part of this. We want to progress this even further. And now the Ape Accelerator is like the final sort of piece of the puzzle, I suppose.
That's awesome.
Interesting. I want to bring the show over to the podcast side for a moment here, if you guys don't mind. And Chaz, my show, I get to the roots. I talk to incredible leaders like yourself, and I have a lot of people ask me, because we also have a Web3 and a Web2 recruiting practice. What would you recommend to folks who are on the Web2 side that want to break into Web3? What would be their best first step to try to get into a company like Forj and work with you guys?
Yeah, so what the first thing I say to people is actually do Web3, right? I've spoken to a number of people who are like, oh hey,
he said buzzwords don't work, guys. No buzzwords.
Yeah, they just do not. Like, the thing is, you can bluff it all you want, but the minute I sit you in front of a community of people in Discord, and they're like GM, and you're frantically googling that, you're like, no, you don't get it. You just don't get it, and you need to be immersed in it. It's not like other things you can just learn on the job. If you aren't passionate about it, if you don't believe in what we're doing here, you're not going to get
it. That's what I love about it.
It's ethos and the foundation, because it's technical in one sense. You need to know so many technical things because it's a completely different language. At least have a good, even if you're not a technical person, have a good understanding of even the difference between an L1 and an L2, or understanding what the different chains are, even what a fork is, right? Like having understanding the crypto side, the NFT side, and then take it up to Kevin's wheels are spinning here because I'm the noob, he's a degen, and he's seen my progression into my knowledge base, and you have to talk the talk and have a good understanding of how it's fundamentally different and things that
the reason I love Web3 so much and what Chaz and Adam and you guys are talking about, honestly, is technology is agnostic of almost everything, right? Age, you kind of just have to prove it. You kind of just have to do the hard work, and you have to learn, and you got to fail, and you got to fuck up, and you got to figure out, and then through that process,
fuck around and find out.
I fucked around.
That's a theme of the last 3 months, man.
$7,000 using these decentralized applications, going through DeFi Summer 2020, right? Right. I accidentally.
That's why I explained my loss to my wife. I'm like, I was just fucking around. Out.
But I accidentally sent each to the wrong wallet, right? Like, but I will but by doing that, I will never do it again, because now I have a system in place. And so and to your point, right? When I first started doing this recruiting thing, that's exactly what happened. I get on a call, we'd have the first 2 minutes, and then by minute 7, I'm like, oh, you're full of shit. You're fiercely Googling what you need to say next. And so I just find this interesting dichotomy where like this space is put the work in, do the work, and that's how you get yourself ahead. So maybe to our point of what we're asking and what we're talking about, you have to do the work. Go ahead, Adam.
So Chaz, let me ask you this question: when you're interviewing somebody, what's one of those go-to questions that you ask to see how deep their knowledge and their passion? Because it's a combination, right? It's aptitude and knowledge and passion and attitude, right? So how do you put all that together? And what questions do you ask on an interview?
It's a good question.
Well, funny enough, actually, it's exactly the one you asked me earlier, which is, what projects got you into Web3 and why? Ultimately, it's that, because I want them to have the opportunity to speak passionately about something that interested them about the space. I don't care what it is necessarily, whether it's it could be Dogecoin, it could be a PFP project, it could be Goblin Town. I don't care, whatever. It could be, it could be Pepe, right? But the point is that you've obviously learned something, and you understand it's not about the actual token. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not about the project itself. It's about what be part of the community, right? Because you've obviously been part of the community get it, you understand, why security is so important with Web3. Because if you don't understand that, that's where you're going to fail. If you're coming with a Web2 attitude, which is, hey, I've got a product, you've got money.
Nope. Here's
my advertising campaign. You're not gonna make it.
That's exactly
to understand. You're one of them, right? And they're one of you. You have to stop treating people like your buyers or your customers. They're your stakeholders. They're your colleagues.
Make humans human again.
Let's flip this around as we start to bring it into the home stretch here, Chaz. What do you feel is the biggest threat to Web3 adoption and growth? What's the biggest threat? What keeps you up at night on this?
Oh,
besides
yeah,
or the U.S. government.
Oh shit, man! Binance.
I mean, yeah, that's.
We're sorry, Chaz. We're sorry. We apologize.
I know,
guys. Honestly, UK. Have you heard what we're up to? Like, we're taking this shit legal. Honestly,
you guys are. We need to follow your lead. That's right.
No, I think the single greatest threat is us getting wrapped up in our own bullshit. I mean, us as the industry, right? I mean, for example, as much as I love NFTs, stop calling them NFTs, okay? As much as I love cryptocurrencies, maybe let's stop referring to them as an alternative to money, right? That's not what it's about. Like but if you think about this whole thing around why people reject, and this is a marketing thing, Adam, you get this, like why do people reject concepts? Well, it's a threat to their way of living, it's a threat to their perceptions of the world. If you're basically turning down and going, hey guys, do you want to co-own your favorite projects? Do you want the opportunity to govern what these bastards are doing, right? Can you imagine a situation where you actually have control over products and services and experiences from your favorite brands? Get involved in Web3, It doesn't matter what chain, we're agnostic, we're all in it together. That's another thing as well, is stop getting so obsessed with your favorite chain, okay? It's not going to matter. Not going to matter in 5 years' time. It won't be Solana, Cardano, ETH, whatever. Like, it won't matter. It will all work harmoniously, and you won't even know what's happening behind.
Can I just say to that point? And sorry, I again tangent again. My show. It's okay. I think, and Adam mentioned this earlier because Adam texted me earlier and he said, "Fucking Binance." And honestly, as somebody that's been in this space a while, we've been waiting for this, right? I mean, within reason, we've kind of known, right? We've known that the SEC was coming. We knew that Coinbase had its day, that Tether might have its day, that Binance. Right?
SEC guy.
Yeah. Uncle Gary. Hey, Uncle Gary, could you calm down? No, but seriously, I think actually, it's a good point. I think what Uncle Gary didn't realize is that what he did is he actually brought us together more than we could have ever doing this on our own. Think how tribal we have been for the last year. Between NFT projects.
My enemy is my enemy.
It's crazy. I mean, Pepe holders hating on Doge holders and Doge holders hating on Sheep holders and Turbo and it's ridiculous. But all of a sudden, Gary Gensler drops a couple lawsuits and all I see, well, not all I see, but 80% of the people that were Bitcoin is the devil, ETH is the greatest, devil. Bitcoin is the devil are now like, you know what, guys? If we don't all come together now, this is all going to go somewhere else, and somebody else is going to understand ownership, is going to have the ability to own their own assets, to the peer-to-peer transaction. So I think they overplayed their card, and yeah. So just wanted to mention that.
100%, Kevin. And the thing is, like, kind of going back to what I was saying about this tribalism, right? When you think about it, like, why are you arguing about something like TPS?
Oh my gosh!
Or or the ability to go cross network on different chains or whatever. Why are you like, these are such small things in the grand scheme of things, right? And you're looking at an existential crisis from people who do not understand our world. And you're sitting there going, I'll explain blockchain to you, but only from the point of view of Cardano, because hey, you could do liquid staking and it doesn't even.
Do you know why,
cares?
Chaz?
Like, this is focused on. It's decentralized. Yeah.
No.
Kevin,
we're all fantasy football owners now, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we've all got down.
I mean, like I'm going off on I was trying to draw an analogy with live in the PGA, but I couldn't get to that point. But we're seeing things happen that we've never seen happen before, faster than ever. Yeah. That's kind of where I was going there. We're waking up and we're seeing shit happen. Everything from political, and I mean, Kevin could go off on a diatribe about politics, microeconomics with this, but we are getting close to the end here. And I want to talk about. Sorry,
to that point right there, and I think it ties in, right? So exactly what we're tying into, right? Do you think Web3 is the precipice? Is it the reason that we're seeing all these changes? Is it the reason we're seeing a lot of this instability in certain places? Is it that because finance is changing? Because now, I mean, that goes to Adam's point, right? That goes to macro, that goes to like the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia is now involved. Like, are all the like, is there like a blockchain reason for a lot of these things, do you think?
I see it as the cure,
there you go.
Rather than necessarily the instigator, right? So I think the reason it's becoming more and more popular is because things are changing fast, and I think what we're seeing instead is the just the explosion of access to information, access to the internet, the ability to question things. Mm-hmm. You think about like this sense of like what is truth anymore, right? No one knows. No one knows what truth is anymore. I don't. I mean, read the news, and I'm sitting there going, I honestly don't know. It doesn't matter what source you read it in. I do not know if this is true.
That's a solid point.
Crazy is it in our lifetime that is an actual
and it's
problem.
So easy to fake all this shit. It's so easy.
Exactly. Trump's indictment, whatever. Like, personally, like, politics, it doesn't matter whether you like or hate Trump. Like, it is just impossible to understand what is real and what is not. And if you're a Trump supporter or not, you're sitting there going, if he goes to jail, is that for the right reasons, the wrong reasons? I don't know. Like, the problem is, without blockchain, how does this get solved? Without the ability to say, there is an immutable source of truth, right? That was essentially put onto the blockchain. Exactly that. So, it was validated as a legitimate source at this time. It's the root of it, exactly. So without that, how are we ever going to be able to just get out of this mess?
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
It's absolutely necessary. Yeah, Web3 is a cultural movement, as far as I'm concerned. But blockchain is a technological movement, right? And that's where I really think that we're going to see some major changes.
So speaking of major changes, I'd love if you could drop us a little bit of alpha here. The show's going to come out in a couple of weeks. What are you guys working on? What could you share with us? Some exciting innovations, even if you can't share all the secrets, maybe just a little nod towards what's going on to give our audience that alpha that we're yearning for. Yeah.
You know what? We are very fortunate at Forj. We've got so much going on. It's just honestly, it's incredible. What can we talk about? Okay, so I don't know if you guys have heard about the other side.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, big deal. So we've got some stuff coming. We're working closely with those guys, and we've got a cool new project coming out. Very very soon, and that's going to be super. So keep your eyes open for that. Obviously, we've got our ApeCoin Accelerator, which is an incubator and launch pad for the ApeCoin DAO. So obviously, anybody who has any ApeCoin, watch out. We've got some amazing things coming down the line on that as well.
So I should hold my
and they just hired one of my really good friends on the DAO, so I co-signed this.
Remember? Oh wow, excellent. Which one? Do you mind me asking?
That's the red guy.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah, excellent. So no, it's loads of stuff happening there. That project is so cool. We're so honored to be part of that. So that brand's coming out. In fact, I've been working today on the brand logo and design for that. So that's going to be really really cool. That's coming out later in Q3. So yeah, that's going to be massive. And apart from that, we also have another big game coming out. In partnership with Pixels. So Pixels, massive Web3 game based on Polygon. So that's coming out as well. So we're really looking forward to that. It's going to be super exciting.
I love that. Honestly, it's not about the next billion. It's like, again, next one, next two, next three, gaming. Do you know Bryson? I know we're almost at the end of the show. Do you know Bryson?
Throwing names out here. A gamer here in Miami-based Bryson. He goes Twitter handle Bryson.
No worries. All good. Hey, he's doing a lot of content. I'm seeing gaming is the next in the forefront. Glad you guys are bringing gaming to the next. It's the next thing. It's what I feel people are going to be excited about. So it's what I'm going. Kev. All right. So, as mentioned, we're almost at the end of a show. But before we wrap up, I did want to give our audience a takeaway a little bit of some of our awesome discussion with Charles. So just to kind of recap a little bit, today's podcast, we painted a vivid picture of the metaverse. We talked about its potential and how innovators like the aforementioned Charles Stanton and companies like Forj are shaping its evolution. You know, really what we want y'all to stay curious, stay open, be willing to embrace these new digital frontiers. Did you guys just hear this conversation? Did you hear all that alpha that Carl was dropping? New opportunities are coming, guys. We're moving to an interconnected world. That's it for today, y'all. Don't forget to stay tuned to our next episode. We'll continue to explore the intersection of technology, creativity, and innovation that intersects us as human beings. Thank you so much, Charles. Please, before we go, let them know where to find you on socials.
Yeah, of course. So you can follow me on at Jazz_Stanton. And of course, follow Forj on @ForjOfficial for all the alpha and all of our various different brands and projects.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate you.
Yep.
No worries. Thanks,
Everybody
guys.
at home,
Kevin, wrap us up.
Care. Have a wonderful day. Stay curious, my friends.
And thank you for joining the podcast at thepodcast.com. Be good to yourself and be better to others. Take care, everybody.